Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm continuing on my Director Retrospective Series focusing on Paul Thomas Anderson films. So today I'll be doing his fourth film, Punch Drunk Love. And this stars Adam Sandler, Emma Watson, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and a variety of others. For those who haven't seen it, this film really focuses on Barry Egan, a socially impaired owner of a small novelty business who is dominated by his 7 sisters and is unlikely to find love unless it finds him. When a mysterious woman comes into his life, his emotions go haywire, fluctuating between uncontrolled rage, lust, and self-doubt. This is such a beautiful film. It's a great, quirky, unique love story, done really, really well and uniquely different to all the other romantic comedies or romantic films focusing on love that we've seen before. This is a unique film within the Paul Thomas Anderson catalogue. It's sort of right in the middle of particular films. We looked at Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia, and they're all sort of really sort of dramatic pieces with, you know, lovable losers trying to make sense in the world, and very interesting films. And then after this film, we've got There Will Be Blood, The Master, Inherent Vice, and Phantom Thread, which are sort of more of his dramatic pieces and really great orchestrated films, and beautifully shot and put together, and very unique period films they are. This film sort of sits right smack bang in the middle of his whole catalogue of films. It's so uniquely different. I'm surprised how much I really love this film. It's simple. His use of camera is completely different in this film to any other film he's made. There's a kinetic energy to it. The scenes flow, there's long takes, there's Steadicam shots. And the camera sort of moves within the scenes in such a fluent and interesting way. And it's just really well written. It feels like P.T Anderson tends to put his own personal things within the films. So things he may be going through, he adds to the particular film in certain ways. And in this film, he really looks at love. And I wouldn't doubt that maybe he was in love at the time he wrote this. And it's sort of how he got out his expression of this and how he felt about it, and what it really meant to him to go through this particular experience. And this sort of was what developed out of it. The acting is really great. Adam Sandler is fantastic. This is one of his best performances, alongside Reign Over Me and a couple of others. But this film is really fantastic. He's brilliant. And after he had made Magnolia, he was asked what actors he would love to work with. And 2 of the actors that came to mind were Daniel Day-Lewis and Adam Sandler. And everybody was surprised by this, because Sandler up until this point had done sort of silly comedies, and some comedies with a little bit of heart, but the type of comedy he would usually make. And this was a departure from that and was completely different. And for Anderson to choose Adam Sandler to be in this particular film was a stroke of genius, because Sandler is absolutely fantastic in this. Barry Egan's this sort of character, sort of socially awkward and impaired, and he's sort of pushed around by his sisters and acts out and lashes out in particular ways that are surprising and shocking when they do happen. It feels like it's his only way to get this out of him, and I really like that. He's a really fascinating character. He clearly is on the autistic spectrum of some sort, maybe has Asperger's. It's just the way he reacts to circumstances. And the things that he does within this film are very interesting to watch, but are uniquely different to that particular character. Emma Watson is another actress I sort of like. She's done a couple of things I really enjoyed, such as The Proposition, and I really loved her in Red Dragon. I thought she was fantastic in that film. She's a solid actress, but she's never really broken out and become a huge mainstream sort of actress. And the way Anderson uses her here is just fantastic. She's sort of a little strange and unique, and she's just drawn to Barry for some reason, and she doesn't know why. And it all started from seeing a photo of him with his sisters, because she's friends with one of his sisters, and it just sees her drawn to him, and I really love that. And the love story is so unique and interesting to these particular characters. Once again, Anderson's created colourful characters and put them into simple circumstances, but there's something really magnetic and beautiful about this film that I can't put my finger on. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it and plays a bit of an asshole in it, pretty much. The Mattress King, as he's called. He owns a mattress store, but he also runs a telephone sex line as well. And Barry just is so desperate to talk to someone that he calls up this particular number, and he ends up getting into such a bad situation where they demand money from him, they come after him, and there's so many things that happen to him because of this particular phone call, that it just sort of shakes him to his core. There's a dreamlike quality to this film. Like at the start of the film, you sort of see Barry Egan and you first meet him and he's sitting down in this little desk in this little room talking on the phone, talking about frequent flyer miles and how to get more of them. And this is sort of a driving force for the particular character at the point we meet him. And then for a sort of a break, he steps outside and looks down this long sort of alleyway where he sort of works in his business. And he just sees this sort of piano-like thing at the end. And he's just standing there watching it. And then there's a truck crash. And it sort of affects him. And he runs back inside. It's sort of like he's scared of the outside world. But it's like he sees things in a different way. And this has a real dreamlike quality. You're not quite sure whether the accident really happened or it's in his head. And I kind of like that. You can see that he could imagine things that are simple, but he makes them larger than life in his mind. And I really like that element to it. He's such an interesting character. He's just so pushed around and dominated by so many women, especially his sisters and other women around. It's really nasty to him. And he can't express how he really feels, and there's a sadness in him. But when he meets Emma Watson's character, and she becomes sort of his strength, his core strength, and it shows how someone who is completely in love with someone can sort of give them strength in a way, and can make them feel superhuman, and can support them and can lift them up, and can allow them to express who they truly are, which I really loved about it. There's a theory about this film that it's sort of a Superman-esque story. And I went in with that in mind while watching this film, and I could sort of see it in part. He wears this blue suit all the way through the film, like Superman sort of does with his suit. Because of the love he feels for this woman, he feels stronger and more capable, and he has a hidden strength he didn't know he was capable of. No, he doesn't have any superpowers, but it just feels like his superpowers comes from love, and his powers are more his capability of handling circumstances in a creative or violent way, whatever he needs to do to get it done and protect the people he loves, which is a very Superman-esque thing. There's also a scene where he's running and he launches straight out like a Superman pose over this railing, so you sort of see that. Then you look at Emma Watson's character, and she wears red, and there's this theory that she's his cape, and that might think, oh, that's a bit strange, because there is a scene at the end where he's sort of sitting in front of a computer and she drapes her arms over him like a cape. And then I started to think she has to serve more purpose than just being a cape, I guess. She sort of is a Lois Lane sort of character that's fascinated by him and drawn to him, and a romance starts between the two. She also represents sort of the thing that makes him fly, the thing that lifts him up and supports him as he goes through this journey or through life. And that's sort of representation of the cape, I guess, that Superman has. He's a lot stronger and a lot capable than he ever thought he could be or would be. And that's really fantastic as well. There's a chaotic energy to this film. There's particular scenes where there's noise going on, people talking, another person talking, and the camera's just moving around and going around in circles, and it flies down corridors and it pans across when someone's running. And I guess following the Superman logic, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character could be like Lex Luthor, a mastermind in his own mind, I guess, trying to take down this particular man just for no other reason than he can. The film really asks that question. How far would you go for love? And what would you do to protect the thing that you love or the person that you love? What extremes would you push yourself to? And what would you be capable of if you had to be? If you were thrown into a circumstance where you had to be strong, where you had to defend the person that you really cared about, what would you do? And I think this film really raises those particular questions. There's moments where Adam Sandler is humorous as well, but it's sort of stripped back bare humour, and it's a circumstantial humour that comes from it. There's a moment where he's dancing within the supermarket when he's getting pudding, trying to get frequent flyer miles, which I really liked as well. He's just an interesting character. And there's this whole thing where he's trying to get all these frequent flyer miles so he could get as many as he needs so he doesn't have to pay for a flight again. So it's like the whole movie he's trying to fly. He's trying to work his way up to be able to fly free and be free. And I think this is a great representation of the Superman-esque story. And I'm really fascinated by this film. I highly recommend it. If this is the only one you ever see, this is the one you need to watch. It's fantastic. A unique an interesting film that's different, that really looks at love and the strength of love and what people are capable of. And I adore this movie. It's so beautiful. It reminds me so much of a French comedy. This particular sequence where at the start, like an opening sequence, there's a lot of colors and interesting shapes and stuff that are formed. The humor and circumstances are quirky and unique, which remind me a lot of French movies, especially romantic comedies. And it just has a unique take on it. It was like he took the romantic genre, and this was the first time he really did this, and he looked at the lens of a French cinema. And I really love that. He's such a great film. It's been on my mind ever since I've watched it, and it's just a film I want to go back to again. I just like the world we inhabit. I love the camera work in it, this beautiful silhouette shots. But especially the cover where the two are running towards each other and they kiss and they're in this black sort of silhouette. And the idea, it's different as well. Not only the camera work, but the use of natural lighting. Paul Thomas Anderson seemed to just have the natural lighting. When we see where Barry works, it's in this factory, and as he goes in, it's just all these lens flares and outside light that sort of blows out the frame, but it sort of works really well for what he's going for. I've never seen him just use natural light before. It's like everything he ever did before the film, he just threw out the window and was like, I'm going to do something completely unique and different. And that's exactly what he did. And that's what I find with a lot of his films. They're unique to him. They tell a different and unique story. They're colourful and interesting characters in simple circumstances. And we just see who they are as people through their actions, not by what they say. And this is a fantastic film in that regard. He is truly one of the great filmmakers, in my opinion, Paul Thomas Anderson, and I'd love to see what he does next. Anyway, I think I've talked your ear off enough about this film. If you haven't seen it, go out and rent it now. Highly recommend it if you like something different, unique and original. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.